Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us. Let's continue with our sessions on the magic of the runes. And for us, let's start right now with the magic of the Rune UR. And let's start with a brief narrative that comes directly from the words of Master Rune UR as he writes them in his Christmas message of the year 1968 to 1969.
If you ask me who I am one of the 7 Ameshaspentas of Zoroastrians, active in the past, Mahamanvantara, and named the Lotus of Gold. Therefore, I will give testimony of what I have seen and heard. Listen to me, men and gods. I know in depth the 7 mysteries of the moon. I lived among the lunar humanity. I knew its 7 root races, its epochs of civilization and barbarism, and its alternating cycles of evolution and devolution. When the Selenites arrived at the 6th subrace of the 4th round, the same age that this terrestrial humanity has reached, I accomplished a similar mission to the one that I am accomplishing in these moments on the planet on which we live. I taught the people of the moon the synthesis religion, which is contained within the initiatic stones, the doctrine of Jano, or the doctrine of the jinns. I lit the flame of gnosis among the Selenites. I formed a Gnostic movement there. Thus, I sowed the seed. And as I sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the mundane fowls of the air devoured them. Some seeds fell upon rocks of discussions, theories, and anxieties, where there did not exist profound and reflective people. As soon as they sprung up, they withered away before the light of the sun, for they did not pass the ordeal of fire, as they did not have roots. Some fell among the thorns of brothers and sisters who hurt each other with their thorns of slander and gossip, etc. So the thorns sprang up with the seeds and choked them. Fortunately, my labor as a sower was not in vain, since some seeds fell on good ground, sprang up, and bore fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Many latent faculties exist within the Devamatri, Aditi, or cosmic space, inside the runic UR, within the microcosmos, machine man, or better if we say intellectual animal, that could be developed through tremendous intimate super efforts. As usual, a third party is never missing. So in that lunar apocalypse, a certain cold group finally became fiery and accepted the work in the 9th sphere. A new abode was granted to these people to work with the brute stone until it had a perfect cubic form. In those times, the Selenites had a dreadful, sanguinary religion. The pontiffs of that cult sentenced me to the death penalty, and I was crucified on the summit of a mountain close to a great city. The transference of all the vital powers of the moon to this planet Earth left that old Selenite abode without life. Therefore, the lunar soul is now reincarnated in this world upon which we live.
And Samael continues by saying, I was absorbed within the absolute at the end of that lunar Mahamanvantara, which endured 311 trillion 40 billion years. It is indispensable to say that after the Great Day, the monadic waves of the moon submerged themselves within the runic UR, within the profound womb of the eternal mother space. And so it is important for us to remember that our Divine Mother expresses herself in 5 very specific divine aspects. In her first manifestation, she is our Divine Mother space. She is what is known as the unmanifested Kundalini, or Mula Prakriti. In her second aspect, she is our individual and particular Divine Mother nature. In her third manifestation, she is our Divine Mother Kundalini, which is part of our being, and she is with us here and now. In her fourth aspect, she is our instinctive elemental female magi. And in her fifth manifestation, she is Kali, the Divine Mother Death, what Samael refers to as the terror of love and law. But speaking here about the Rune UR And Samael in his story speaking about how that creation during that lunar Mahamamantara returned into the profound womb of the eternal mother space. What you see here on the screen is a representation of exactly that. Here, the Divine Mother is symbolized among the Egyptians as a sacred cow. And you can see at her underbelly that there is a lining of stars. Those are the stars of the firmament. And holding that firmament, supporting it, is the Egyptian god of air, which is the god Shu, who is the one who provides sustenance. Maybe the image is easier to perceive as you see it here. And now you can see the Divine Mother, Mula Prakriti, the Divine Nut, as the firmament in the heavens. Underneath her, there is the Egyptian god of air, Shu, receiving sustenance from the Divine Mother, and at the feet of Shu, the earth god, Geb. In the Encyclopedia Britannica, we find this very traditional depiction of Nut. And you will see that not only she is the starry space, but underneath her, we find 5 very distinct swim lanes, where at the very bottom, we see a humanity that is split. We see some humanity that is walking towards the left. Perhaps we can take the symbol as walking into inferior manifestations of creation. However, right there at the very center and from there on, we see combinations of men and women. Women who are dressed in white. We see a man who is holding a scepter of wisdom and the whip that is a symbol of willpower. And we see other men who are walking towards the right, in that direction that is considered symbolically as the direction of righteousness. And we see that their garments are both black and white, as if hinting of the constant struggle that exists between matter and spirit, between materialism and spirituality. As we go one swim lane above, one level above, we can see the same humanity continuing to walk in that distinct direction, but we see 4 very specific creatures within their sarcophagus. And this hints to the inner death. It hints to the elimination of our psychological aggregates. Now, in that 3rd swim lane, as we look above, we see that these 2 upper swim lanes, they are emerging from a single point of origin. And that point of origin comes from the creative power, the creative word of Nut. And we see that there is a combination of 5 men, 3 to the left, 2 to the right, and they are separated by a serpent that is vertical. It is a serpent that is standing, similar to the serpent that Moses rose in the desert, that serpent of bronze that brought healing to the Israelites. That serpent is Kundalini. It is the fire of Kundalini that has the ability of transforming us, of helping us by consuming our psychological aggregates and reducing them to a cosmic dust. Of course, these 5 men, symbol of the law in action, symbol of that Arcanum 5, which is the great hierophant of the law, they are carrying containers. And these containers could symbolize the containers of the elixir of life. Certainly, in that swim lane that exists immediately above them, we see boats. Similar to the boat of Karen on the underworld that is responsible of taking the souls from one sphere into the next one across the river. Well, we also see that the great masters invoke of the mantra of the Prajna Paramitas that says Gate, 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 Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi Swaha. If we were to translate that in a very superficial way, it would mean something like liberation, liberation, liberation. To the other side of the river, all of humanity. Liberation. Alleluia. This is a beautiful rendition. And this very same image of Nut we find in Arcanum 69 of the Egyptian Tarot. Notice that just as those men were preparing themselves intimately so that they could rise in that level of being and be transported from this side to the other side of the river, here we see the practitioner walking towards the left, perhaps suggesting tests, ordeals, challenges, difficult circumstances of life. But he is still under the veil, under the protection of the Divine Mother NUIT, of the Divine Mother Kundalini. We know that he is standing on a boat. And under that boat, in the waters of life, we see the influence of the constellation of Scorpio that is governed by the element of water. Here, we see a man that is walking blindly, trying to lead himself with the senses. And this is indicative of the many instances in life in which you and me and everyone else are trying to do our very best, void of superior faculties and abilities that would allow us to see beyond what the eyes of the flesh can perceive and beyond what the ears of the flesh can hear and listen. This particular mystery speaks of the principle of primary faculties as the guidance in the path of life. Certainly, those primary faculties are those virtues, abilities, powers, laws, etc., that are all part of the innermost. Faculties, powers, and abilities that we are responsible of developing from the solar seeds that each and every one of us has been given, from the work that happens specifically in the ninth sphere that Samael has already mentioned. And so we come across the rune UR, a manifestation of the Divine Mother. UR originally means wave or sea, but it refers to water as the life-giving principle. This shape of the rune UR, it replicates the horns of Aurochs. This rune is a rune of primary physical and spiritual strength. This rune is a symbol of the life force itself, of the energy that drives creation and that drives change, because that power of creation exists within our own individual and particular creative waters. This rune indicates a connection to the earth, and it certainly speaks of transformation. The transformation of men and women, the use of our energy and our sexuality, not only to transform ourselves internally, to fabricate the superior existential bodies of the being, but also as that force that can help us overcome obstacles. Dr. Krumheller speaks about the rune UR as well in his writings on the book Curso de Runas, the Course on Runes. And he says that there is an astrological correspondence of the rune UR that relates it to the constellation of Virgo. And Virgo is the mother of the world. She is that manifestation of the abstract, absolute space. Krumheller says, UR carries the mandate. You must know yourself. Know thyself. The same words of Tales de Miletus. Noce te ipsum. Man, know yourself. And Krumheller states, as you are practicing this rune, bend your body. He says, we are cosmic terrestrial. As we bend forward and our spine goes from a vertical to a horizontal posture, he says, the spine's position shows man at rest. As if a deity trying to fulfill himself with the materials at hand. Certainly, those materials are the solar seeds that we have been given, the creative waters that exist within each and every one of us, the knowledge about this work in the flaming forge of Vulcan, in the ninth sphere, in the abode of Pluto that Samael mentions, and the work of the super dynamic of love. He says, how do you practice this rune? As you bend your body forward, how should this look? He says, you should assume the shape of a letter A with your legs. So as you're bending forward, your legs are not together. Your feet are about shoulder width apart so that it creates that shape of the letter A. As you bend forward and you place your arms, you create the shape of a letter U. And he says, if in that posture you lift your head and you look forward, you symbolize a letter M. So Krumheller is telling us that here in the Rune UR, as we embody it, the mantra Aum is described with the body itself. So how do we bring this wisdom together? Friends, for us to assume the posture of the Rune UR and bring unto us those cosmic energies that can help us awake our consciousness. Master Samael Aun says, assume the posture while you are facing the sun and you pray to the Divine Mother. We will raise our arms, and as we raise our arms facing the sun, we will bend our knees and we will crouch with our arms extended towards the sun, and we will recite this prayer to our Divine Mother by saying, within my inner real being resides the Divine Light. Rune UR is the mother of my being, Divine Kundalini. Rune UR, help me. Rune UR, assist me. Rune UR, illuminate me. Rune UR is my Divine Mother. Isis of mine, you who carries the divine child Aurus, my true being, in your arms. I need to die within so that my essence may be lost in El. Notice that at the end we're saying El, we're not saying him. Because El is the name of God, the manifestation of God in the tree of life, particularly in the sphere of Chesed, which is the sphere of Atman, our innermost, our spirit. I need to die within so that my essence may be lost in El. And this is what we had in scope to share with you today about the topic on the magic of the runes. Remember that all of this material was provided to us in Samael's Christmas message of the years 1968 to 1969. Thank you, dear friends, for joining us this evening, and may all beings be happy.